Hello and welcome to Pattern Making with Let Morris. Good to be back again. I'm just going to be sharing with you today how to make another pattern, because that's what I do and what I do best. So we'll be going through how to make a pattern for this wonderful dress. The last time we did the gathered into the waist dress. I hope you found it very interesting, that other one that we did last time. So here we go on a journey again with this one. This is very nice dress. We've got a very puff sleeve going into a straight sleeve. It's got a detail under the cuff, under the puff of the sleeve here, which we'll show you how to do that. And it's got a square neck, and we've got these panels going from the dart down the darts and below the hip line along there, and on the back it also got a square neck. It's got a center back zip. It also got an insert into the back to give it lots of fullness at the bottom, the back as you walk, that flows. So this is what we will be creating, and I hope you'll find that also interesting. And I also hope that you're taking as much as you can from all these lessons that we've been doing. You can always go back to the YouTube channel and see some of the things that I've been doing. And as I say before, you can always message me, like, share, subscribe, as you go along. Any comments that you want to make, please do so, because I'm here. I'm willing to help you through these styles and design as you create them. Once you create your styles, you find that you can be creative, not only making the pattern for your garments from your block, once you've got a good block, because once you've got a good block, you've taken your measurements correctly, that's your fit, and it's unique to your body, your fit, your shape, because we're all unique. Not one of us has got the same shape. We're all different. So it's very important that you take on board and realize it's so important to make your own and create your own. Yes, you can go and buy it in the shop, but it's not the same. Once you buy something in the shop, you'll guarantee somebody else has it, because they make it in mass production. So if you're able to do it yourself, you can always create something different, and you'll be unique. You don't have to worry if you go out to see somebody in the same thing. So here we go. We're going to start off with the blocks. As I say, everything we do start off with our blocks, the front and the back and the sleeve. That's all we need to create this style. Plus you need your pencils, your tape measure, your ruler, set square, scissors, all your tools that you need. You have them handy so that you can create your styles. And your paper, don't forget, whatever paper you're using, whether it be spot or cross, very important to have your paper so that you can create your pattern. And you see, the idea of making your patterns, if you want to make it 2 weeks down the line again, all you do is just pull your pattern out. It's good. Yes, people do it. They cut freehand. They cut it through onto the fabric straight away, but that's not guarantee you're going to get the same result the next time you use it. But once you create your blocks and you create your pattern, you pick your pattern up and you're just ready to go. You just decide on the fabric that you want and you're ready to go. So it's so much to your advantage when you're able to create your own pattern. So here we go. Just come along with me. We're going to start off with on a new sheet of paper, which I've already we're going to start off with the bodies, and I always start off with the front. So I have already marked off, we can put our sleeve away for the moment. I've already marked off the back, and I've already marked off the front. So I'm going to separate them. I'm going to cut out the front first, because that's the one I want to start to create my style lines, my feature of my style lines of the front on there. As you can see, the drawing, the sketch, the picture. I've also attached a bit of fabric there, fabric that I, you know, have in my mind to do this. You've got to decide on what fabric you want, because I'm going to do a very puff sleeve. I thought of doing a organza, which will stand up nicely and, you know, falls very, very nicely with a straight sleeve, bottom of the sleeve straight. So this part here of the sleeve will be organza. The puff on there will be organza. So let's get on ahead and carry on. We'll probably do this in a few parts, but we'll see how we get on while we're filming and going through the lessons. So I've already marked out, as I said, and I'm going to separate these now. So I'm going to start off with the front. So I'm going to cut out the front section here. So this is now what is going to be my draft. You always start with your block. So we traced off the block, and I'm going to cut out the front, and then we can put that back away for the moment. I'm going to cut this shape out here, and after we've cut the shape out, we can start to create our style lines on. So always start off with your block, because you know you have done your blocks to your measurements, and once you've done that, you're safe to carry on with your patterns. So that's very important. So here we go. So now we've cut out the front section. We're going to create the neckline. I'll start off with the neckline on there. So as you can see, this neckline is a square neckline, so we're going to create that on our draft. So I'm going to, from the neck point, I'm going to go back about 2 inches. It could be less than that, 1.5 inches. It could be 2.5 inches. Depends on how far away you want it from your neck. And then I'm going to decide on how low I want it. And I'm going to do 2 inches, 2.5 inches down from there. And then I'm going to square the line out. So if I measure down, that measure to there, and I measure out from there to there as well, my 2 inches. And then I'm going to square a line out from the center front of my draft. Make sure it's squared. Just square a line out, and then I'm going to take the line, square up from that line up to the shoulder point where I want the shoulder neck point to be, and I'll square the line out. So now that gives me the square line. If you don't want, if you mark that on and it's not, you know, you're not happy with that, you can come in some more, and you can go up some more, you can go down some more, but you have to remember, you mustn't go down too low, else you then begin to see the bust, your bust, right? Especially if you've got a very full bust. If you haven't got a full bust, then you could come down some more from the neck point. So that's now created my neck shape on there. So the next thing I want to do is to create my style lines here. These style lines along here, from here, coming from the side, down there, along there, and down there. That's my style line. It goes down and then it goes round. So what I'm going to do is, from my dart point, because I want it to go from my dart, because I'm going to close these darts out. I don't want them. I'm going to take these darts out because I don't want them. I want them to go into the panel, into this panel area here. I want the darts to go, and I want the darts to be in there. So once I've done that, I'm going to now decide on how far down I want the line to be. So I want it to be below my hip line. So that's my hip there. And I'm going to take that line from the end of this dart across there like that. I'll do a straight line first for the moment. And you can shape that if you want. If you don't want a straight line, you can curve it from that point, give it a curve back into there, or you can keep it as a straight line. So once I've done that, I've created my neckline. I've decided where I want my line to go. I know I'm going to put it in under my arm, get rid of the dart, and along there. So I've actually marked those position on. And then I'm going to decide on how long I want the dress to be. You can do it a short dress below the knee. You can do it midway between the knee and the floor, or you can do it straight to the floor as an evening garment. So I'm going to take mine really long as an evening wear. So you measure from your waist down to where the floor where you want it, and then you draw a line across, which I've already done. And I've cut it out. So I've got the length of the dress that I want. So once you've got that, I'm also going to taper it at the bottom, because I don't want it to be very full, because I'm going to be having a go day, it's called, in the back. So I'm going to taper it about 1.5 inches on the hemline. So I measure that in 1.5 inches. Or 1 inch. It just depends on how narrow you want to bring that in. So, and then from the hip, I'm going to taper that in like that, because I don't want the hip to be any smaller. So I'm going to take that off. Right. So once you've done that, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take off this section here, along here. And then I'm going to close the dart out, and then I'm going to remark this section here. So we've got on here, we're going to be having 2 sort of sections. So we're going to have this section here. This is not, I want to do that in a color that you can see it. So if I can find a color, and let's do it in a blue. So we're going to go along. I'm going to take off this section here, along here, along here, along here, along here, and along here. So that's the section that I want, one section. And then the other section that I want to take off is this section here in yellow. So those are my style features that I've got on there. So what I do with another sheet of paper, I'm either going to trace off with my tracing wheel, or you can lay the paper on top and trace off. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take off this section here. I'm going to get my paper, and I'm going to put it on the fold like that, because I'm doing now my complete pattern finished. So along here, and place that back on the fold edge of the paper, and I'm just going to mark around with my tracing wheel along the neckline here, along this neckline here, and then with my pencil I'm going to go along there like that, and along that line there up to the bust point, the bust shaping here. As you can see, I'm going to put my balance mark in there, and the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come across the top line here, and I'm going to go down there and along here. So this is the line that I want. I'm going to go along the top of that dart, along this inside of this dart like that, and I'm going to go across this style line like that, and I'm going to go down on the line that I've tapered on the hem at the side, and then I'm going to just mark across the bottom like that. So, and then we straighten up the lines. So now I can move my pattern away, and then you'll see what's happening once I mark it out. So let's put that one side. I'm going to draw across the bottom along here on my side from the hip all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to put this line in here, which I've created there, and I'm going to come up here where the dart was, along here, follow that line round that you've traced off like that, and then across there where the dart was, and then I'm going to do the neckline now. So along there and across the top of the neck. So that is the shape that we've got on there, and all we do now is we're going to add our seam allowance on these parts. So around the armhole we're going to add 1 centimeter, and on the shoulders centimeter again, because you've got to remember on the block that I use, it hasn't got any seam allowances. But if your block has, if you put a seam allowance on your block, then you don't need to add. So around the neckline, we only need 1/4 and 1/4. Down the sides here, we need 1 centimeter. And in these section here, we need also 1 centimeter, because we have to attach the other parts into there. So you've got to follow the shape around, centimeter, centimeter, all the way around, right around in that area, centimeter. And then you need 1 centimeter across here for your seam allowance. And then also you need 1 centimeter on your side seam along here. Just follow the shape around along the side seam, along all the way down, and you're going to put side seam on the hem. You're going to put some seam allowance on the hem. You can either stitch it with a centimeter, or you can do a felled hem, which is a 2 centimeter, because you don't want too much of a big hem when you do a dress like this. So that's your centimeter, your 2 centimeter felled hem at the front. So that is now your shape. Excuse me. And then you just, with your curve, you just get a nice curved line into the armhole like that, and you follow that up to the shoulders. So that is now your front. That is now your front, and you're going to be cutting, and you're going to cut 2 of those. No, cut 1, sorry. You only need 1 of those because it's on the fold. So once you've done that, you then cut out neckline, so your pattern piece has all the seam allowance on your pattern. You got your balance marking. Cut your shape out along the side, down across there where the other piece is going to be inserted in, and down there. So you've got some corners to encounter with when you join up your garments. So you have to be very careful when you come to your corners, so you get a nice corner when you machine in your garments. So that's what the pattern piece looks like for the front section there. So that's your pattern piece. You open out, put your notch in there, open it out, and then you can put your grain line, use the center here for your grain line like that, and that is your grain line. So that is your center front piece. So once we've got that, we need to get the yellow section, which I've shaded out there. So with another sheet of paper, we're going to copy that off. So we do clean sheet of paper, or if you've got some spare paper about, we're going to copy this section off. And once again, we trace it off, or we trace it off with the tracing wheel, or we can lay it on top and then mark it through. So we're going to go across the bottom of the dart here. Before we went across the top, now we're going to go the bottom because we're getting rid of the dart, and we're going to go into this section here on the other side of the dart, and we're going to come down there, and we're going to go up the side till we get to that first mark of the dart. Remember to put your side seam in, and also don't forget to put your grain line on. That's your grain line there. Always follow that through, and then you can move your block or your draft, I call it the draft, out, and then you put your grain line on. That's your grain line there. That's you got waist notch, and then we just connect up the lines that we've traced like that, and we follow the line through here into the waist and back out again, and then we connect up the line here, and then all we do is just put our seam allowance on, which is 1 centimeter on there, because they've got to marry up the same that we did on the other section. So centimeter down there, and 1 centimeter at the bottom here, and 1 centimeter at the side to follow through. And then once we've got that, you've got to remember that you have to always check that the seams are matching, because when you come to machine, they have to match. So you follow that round. So then you put your notches in there, and then you check and make sure that that matches back into there like that, exactly like that. And that one, once it's joined, it matches to there, and then from there to there like that. So this piece is going to be attached into this opening that we have created here. So this is your side front, and we're going to cut 2 of those. So that is your side front. So that is the front of your pattern finish. Don't throw your draft away, keep them on the side, and then you can just cut out this shape here. And once you've cut that out, that's your front of the dress already. So it's just to know how to create your style lines on your draft, and then you're ready to go. So that's your side bit that fits into the bits that you've got there. So those are your first pieces that you've got on there. Let's just put them out so you can see them. That's the front, and reminding you that's the dress that we're doing here, and it's got the panels. So we've created all this front here, and we've created the side bits. So that's the dress, front of the dress. We've created all this down here, and we've created the side bits. So the next thing we're going to do now is create the back. Okay, so on another sheet of paper, we're going to mark out the block of the back, which we've done. We've got it already marked out. So all we're going to do is create the neckline. Once again, it's got to be the same measurement from the neck point that you've got here, the neck point out. And we're going to we can make it lower because you haven't got any bust at the back. So you can take the back neck down lower. So whatever the measurement is here, we take it out. So it's got to mirror the front. So you can check if you're not sure on what you did at the front. And then we're going to take it down you know, lower. You can take it down lower than the front. Whatever the front is, you can bring it down lower. So I'm going to take mine down to there. And once again, I'm going to square the line out like that. Square a line out. And then I'm going to take from that square line out, I'm going to take a line up to touch that line that I've marked out there. Like that. So I've got also a square back neck on my garment. So that's my neckline here. And then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to taper like I did on the front, 1 inch, or you can do it 1.5 inches, and then take it back to the hip line. I'm going to make it a bit narrower there, so I'm going to get rid of that bit like I did. I'm going to leave the dart in because I've got a dart on the back of the dress, but I'm going to make it a little bit smaller than the dart I have on the block. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take in 1/4 inch at the waist and 1/4 at the back here. So what I do is I'm going to, from under the arm here, I'm going to come in and then go back out into the hip, the hip line, getting a nice curve. So with your curve, you know, you get a nice curve back into your hip line there. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to tighten up the back neck a bit. So I'm going to take off 1/4 there, and I'm going to take it back into this 1/4 like that, a little bit, because when you start making your neckline wider, you'll find that it gapes. So it's good to always take a little bit off to tighten that up. So from there now I'm going to go back into the hip line like that. So instead of having a straight back, my back is now curved in a bit up to there. So once I've got that, I've got to reshape my dart because I've made it only 1 inch now. It was 1.5 inches. So I'm going to, I've drawn a straight line through, and I'm going to measure. I'm going to make it 1 inch. So I'm going to, I just square a line from the waist out. So I'm going to measure from there 1/2 inch, and from there to there 1/2 inch. So it gives me the dart, making the dart smaller by 1 inch, because I've taken some out of there and I've taken some out of there, the center back. So I now reshape my darts into there, into there. Darts are smaller, into there and back into there. So now that's my new dart shaping, which is smaller. So I can rub out that line there, the outer line. So it's now the inner line. It's my dart shape, right? So once I've done that, I'm going to decide on how far up I want my insert to be, my flared insert for the back of the skirt. So I'm going to measure up, and I'm going to put a notch there, and I'm also going to put a notch for the length of my zip, and I've put a notch, going to put 2 notches there. So I'm going to put a notch basically up to there. Could be 18 inches, 17 inches. If it's long, it's down to the floor. It's a long dress. Depends on how long you want that to be. And then I'm going to measure down whatever my zip length is. And I'm going to also put a notch where my zip. So it's normally it's easy to find. If it's your waist, 8 inches down from your waist, and you put a couple of notches, that's where the zip's going to be. So once I've got that, all we have to do now is to add the seam allowance. So what we do is we're going to trace off this that we've created here, and then we're going to add our seam allowance on. So I'm going to cut out the neck shape. I'm going to cut it out, or you can just trace it off. You don't need to, but I'm just going to cut mine out. Cut out, and I'm going to go take the 1/4 off and go in at the waist where I've taken a quarter off there, back to nothing at the hip line, at the hip, like that. And then I'm going to just finish cutting out the whole shape so that you can see how we add the seam allowance on there, because we've got a center back seam, we need to allow a centimeter on the center back because we've got an opening. So we're going to come in, we're going to take that off, that 1/4 inch out the waistline that we've marked on there, and I'm going to trace that off on another sheet of paper. I'm going to trace it off. I'm going to put a straight line on my paper here so that we can see that. Like that, draw a straight line there, all the way down. And then I'm going to put that from the bottom on that line to that line there, because you can remember we've taken a 1/4 inch away from there. So what we need to do is we've just got to follow this shape that we've got here on the paper, this new shape, and we trace it off as it is. We're putting the bottom section up to that mark on the straight line, and then from there we can just draw in the new shape that we've got on the new sheet of paper, like that, along the neckline, up there, along there. And we're going to put in the balance mark because it's a guide for us around the sides. And we're going to come along the bottom, and we're going to put a notch there where we want the split to go. We put 2 notches there for where the zip section is going to be, and then we're going to also mark along the bottom, along there, like that. We put the darts in as they are, because remember we made the darts smaller, so we transfer them on the new sheet of paper. So we've got everything checked to see that you've got everything transferred off. Once you've got that, you can take that away, and then you connect up your new dart shape like that. New dart shape in, and then we can take off this line here now, because we don't need that line, because we've got to add the seam allowance on from the new line that we've got. So along the bottom you